Friends. Happy August.
Hello. Hello.
Hey, Jen. Nice to see you again, my friend.
Same to you, Lauren.
Welcome to
So how-
Tomato Talk Live. It's August 2025, and we have our third musketeer basically is here with us tonight again. LeHoullier is here. He's going to come on in just a minute. If it's your first time watching, we welcome you. Jen and I co-run, along with our friend Kina, this group on Facebook called Tomato Lovers Collective and Swap. And we welcome you whether you are brand new to growing tomatoes, whether you're thinking of growing tomatoes, or if you've been growing for decades. We welcome you. We are all about education and fostering each other's love for tomatoes. We share a lot of pictures. We share a lot of reviews. And then we even have days where we swap. We have Jen does a great stamp game on Thursdays. Tell them about the stamp game. We haven't talked about that in a while.
Oh, well, it's a lot of people were saving seeds for it now. So basically you trade your seeds for stamps. People can say, or you put, it's like, instead of exchanging money, you say, I want this many stamps for this many seeds of these varieties. And then people will stamp it. Say, I stamped that. And then they'll send you the stamps. And then you send them the seeds. And then you have stamps for, exchanging more seeds. So that's the
It's a
stamp
great
game.
way to build your collection if you can't contribute to like an actual swap. If you don't have seeds yet, it's a great way. Jen came up with the game. It's a great way to build your collection. We have a lot of very, very generous members of our group who love to give away seeds that you're looking for. So please join us at Tomato Lovers Collective and Swap. We are live. Well, for those of you who are watching live, we have 51 live viewers right now. We are recorded also. So for anybody that can't catch the live, you can always catch our recordings on both. Jen has a YouTube channel, Jen Joy, and my YouTube channel is Mr. and Mrs. Tomato Head. But we like to come to you live because we like being an interactive broadcast and talking with all of you, especially when we have Craig on the show, because I know you guys have a lot of comments and questions for Craig. For those of you that may not know who Craig is, he's a co-founder of the Dwarf Tomato Project. He is the author of I consider the Bible of tomatoes, Epic Tomatoes. And growing vegetables and straw bales. Let's just bring Craig on.
Yes.
One thing before we bring Craig on, because I don't have room on the screen for him with this. Jen and I are running our very first annual tomato tasting and seed swap. It's at our halfway point between us. It's in Carlisle, Pennsylvania, which is where we did our plant swap back in May. Please come if
I'm so excited for this.
Me too. Well, I was talking to Rob last night. I'm like, are we even going to have tomatoes for people?
That's what I was thinking today. I was like, oh my gosh, please hold out, plants. Please hold out, some of you.
Coming hard and fast. But yes, please come. And even if you have no tomatoes to taste, just come. We can meet each other, and we will have seeds for sure. I'll have seeds that we can swap.
Seeds.
Yeah, we will have seeds. Hopefully tomatoes too. Without further ado, let's bring on, here he is. Hey, Craig.
Hi, good evening, folks. Good evening, friends. How are you?
Welcome back to Tomato Talk Live. We love having you.
I love being here. Thank you for asking. I'll always say yes.
I think it's your 5th appearance on our show.
That's crazy.
Let's aim for 50. How many? Let's see. I'll be around in another, I don't know, maybe not. I may be a little crotchety and decrepit, when we hit show number 50.
We still want you.
And decrepit.
We don't actually have, sometimes when Craig comes on, especially the earlier shows, we had a topic, but it is tomato season for so many of us. We know you guys are going to have questions. And, when Craig's on, Jen and I just sit there like this and listen. Because he's
already assumed the position
of knowledge. One other thing. John Kramer is giving away 2 copies of Epic Tomatoes, Craig's book. A soft cover and a hardcover. Thank you, John. If you'd like to win it, just put #tomato in the comments. Just once. You only need to do it once.
I'm so generous.
Here it is. Type tomato to win. #tomato. Thank you, John. So Craig, how's your season going so far? You're kind of winding down, aren't you?
Yeah, pretty interesting. I would say we're right in the center of things. The plants I showed a picture today on Instagram, and you comment upon it on how it kind of looks like yours. So I'm
Yep,
getting Cherokee Green and Rosella Cherry have what looks like Pith necrosis. OTV Brandywine has Fusarium wilt. I am always reminded at the speed of which septoria leaf spot spreads.
that's what I get, Septoria.
A week ago, I went through and cleaned all my indeterminates off, and a week later, it's still, we're getting a lot of rain. We have foggy things. We have warm, humid weather. So this is it. This is what
Yeah,
happened. Uh,
Yeah.
the flavors have been outstanding. I'll talk maybe a little bit about it. The corn has been the most fun because I proved to myself I can grow corn really well in straw bales. That
wow.
was
Nice.
one of my big reaches for the year. But I've had fun. So it's been Eli and it's been the garden. And what more can you ask for in the summertime? How about you? How are you two gardens going? He says with
Mine, mine. I have the Septoria like you, but August is really the big month for me. We've definitely had things coming in the last couple of weeks, but August things really ramp up
yes,
where I am. But
Yeah.
things are looking good despite the Septoria. Everything
yeah,
looks good. I have two tomatoes I wanted to show. This is my very first. This is the tomato Lauren, named after me from Tatiana Nagel at
oh,
Tomato
neat.
Eden. There's also a Jennifer and a Kina, but this is
Yeah,
pretty, very
yeah,
pretty. So we
very
haven't
nice.
tasted.
Very.
And then in honor of our friend Heidi Dolan, this is Heidi's Wicked Good.
Oh,
Um,
so yummy.
I actually have tasted it. I tasted a small one, and it is outstanding. So
Nice.
doing a lot of tasting, but yeah,
Yeah,
Septoria weak spot for me. Jen's
yeah.
having a great year too, right, Jen?
Well, it's better than last year in some aspects. I did have a horrible infestation of aphids early on, and I think that I soaked my plants in neem. It's like 3 or 4 times, and it didn't do anything. And at that point, I think that they'd really done the damage to my plants. Now, granted, they'd already set some fruit and stuff, but I sprayed molasses, and within 24 hours, the aphids were gone.
Wow.
So yeah,
Amazing.
and I haven't seen any of them since. But like I said, I think the damage was done with all the I mean, I soaked underside. The plants were dripping with neem. I was just like, why isn't this working? I did it again and again. Nothing. I'm pretty sure they just sat on there and laughed at me. Like,
Yeah,
neem doesn't work for me.
yeah.
Molasses does. So learned that this year.
What I find interesting about aphids is the changing weather has led to things happening at different times. And what should happen is aphids show up and the larvae of ladybugs show up and they eat the aphids and everybody's happy. And for a
Jen and
few
I
years,
both ordered ladybugs to get
yeah,
ready.
yeah. In
Yeah,
a few years here, the weather's been really weird and the aphids have come out and it's been weeks before the ladybugs showed up. Now, once they showed up, they had a feast.
yeah.
But so that means something's out of sync in nature because that's supposed to be a very seamless, here come the aphids, here come the ladybug larvae, everybody's happy. So these are just things we have to watch for in that gardening's not quite the same any year, but it's becoming particularly unusual the last, I don't know, 5, 10, 15 years. We have to be on our toes.
It's funny you say that, Jen. I think this is the same for you, and maybe I'm wrong, but this was my first year ever having aphids.
Hmm.
Never. Sometimes I'll get them with my micro dwarfs growing in the house, but outdoors, I don't. I never had aphids until
I
this.
have at the very beginning when the plants are small, I would get some white flies,
Mhm.
that the white aphids or whatever. But they'd be there for a minute and then
Hmm.
they'd be gone.
Hmm.
These are the little pink ones. You had the pink ones too, right?
I had pink, I had green, I had white. I mean,
The Italian flag.
Well,
and the green ones, they just blend in so good. And I was smashing them and
yeah,
trying
yeah.
to did it all, and nothing worked except the molasses, and it was like magic. I was just like, "Whoa, molasses works!"
Yeah.
Well, I've had my first year with no Japanese beetles, essentially no bean beetles, no stink bugs, no hornworms, and no fruit worms. And I've not really done anything different. However, cardinals, song sparrows, and a few other species have been in my tomatoes a lot. And I have a feeling
Mm.
the birds are coming in and having a good time plucking the worms off and chowing them
Taking
down.
care of all your pests.
Maybe. I plant borage in my
Mm,
raised beds, which seems to deter the hornworms. But I've
yeah.
one bed with no borage, and I've found a couple hornworms in there.
Pretty blue flowers. I don't eat borage very often, but I'm just always fascinated by that shade of blue
They're
on the
pretty.
flower.
And
Mhm.
there's a type that's variegated leaves called
Uh,
Bill Archer. It's very pretty. Uh,
Yes, it is very pretty.
yeah, it does
yeah.
seem to
Excellent.
be a trick. But for those of you who are here, we're going to get to as many of your questions as possible. If you could do us a favor, because we won't be able to get to all the comments. But if you have a question for Craig, if you can just put like a Q before the question, that way I can go through and I can put stars next to it. We want to get to as many of you as possible. Oh, here we go. We've got our first one. Lisa, Craig, what trends are you seeing in the breeding world this season? Good
Oh
question.
gosh, that so many people are doing it,
Yeah,
and so many people are aiming for the wildest things. I'm doing the same thing. I'm trying to incorporate as many recessive traits in because they're cool. Now, if you can get flavor, fantastic. But the other thing is tomatoes loaded with recessive traits are easier to stabilize. So, if you,
really?
oh yeah. So if you've got an unusual color and unusual foliage, for example, the Dwarf Tomato Breeding Projects, you cross an indeterminate with a dwarf. You grow out the F1, it's indeterminate. You grow out the F2, you get 25% dwarfs. You just save seeds from the dwarf, they're 100% dwarf from that point on. That's your recessive trait. Yellows are easy, greens are easy, whites are easy, variegated foliage, all of these weirdo traits. When you showed those tomatoes, I'm just going to pull one up here for dramatic effect. No, to make a point. So a lot of us are
Oh, that's
growing
a beauty.
the purple or the brown tomatoes. When I first started getting into heirloom, so I joined the Seed Savers in '86, and I first received the seed that I later named Cherokee Purple in 1990. The only tomato of this sort of color known at that time was purple calabash. And then black crim I obtained from somebody in Sweden that same year. So I grew Cherokee Purple and black crim. Essentially, it was a taste off in the garden. But now this particular one is Abraham Brown.
Oh,
Mm.
A pretty ugly tomato. Seems to a lot of Millard Murdoch's tomatoes have a very large stem scar.
you're
Uh,
right. Well, Captain Lucky
yeah,
does too,
yeah,
doesn't it? Yeah.
yes, yes. Funny should mention that. Um, so here's Captain Lucky.
Ah,
They're
one of my faves.
multi-lobed. They can get belly buttons. They can get cat facing. I love cat. So today for lunch, I showed an Instagram post of a grilled cheese
I
I
saw
made.
it. It looked amazing. Tell everybody else.
Yeah, I use brandy wine on the grilled cheese, and I use Captain Lucky cut up as kind of the side salad. And my wife is just going, "My God, these are like the two best tomatoes we've ever eaten." I'm like, "They sure are." So some tomatoes rise to the top, and they just stay there. And I think Captain Lucky will be a favored tomato. The bees who cross something with Lucky Cross in Millard Murdoch's garden in Flat Rock knew what they were doing. But
Mm.
back to the breeding trends, antho is still big, stripes are big,
Yeah, I know.
micro,
Jen and
yeah,
I aren't big on antho.
neither am I. But it's big. People are
It
trying to
is.
incorporate it because it's
It's
cool.
pretty.
Well, it's pretty weird, but it's pretty.
There's
Um,
only a little bit on the Lauren tomato.
yeah, there you go.
Sometimes I
Mocha's cherry is gorgeous,
Yeah, yeah.
but
yeah,
you can taste that antho.
Yeah,
yeah,
you can. And micros are becoming really huge. So it was indeterminates, and then it was dwarfs, and then the micro dwarfs took off because of people who want to grow tomatoes on their windowsill or their balcony or their patio. I still have never seen anything larger than what, a 3 ounce tomato, maybe a 4 ounce on a micro. And I've
yeah.
yet to taste one that kind of makes me fall over with
Mhm.
total unabashed joy. And I think the flavor micros may be limited by the amount of fruit per foliage on the plant. So asking those poor little barely foliage plants to do a lot of photosynthesis to produce those big, sometimes multiflora clusters, but it's probably out there. Who knows? Somebody will probably crack that nut some days. So I
Well,
think
I'm
that's
working on a couple myself, but
good.
there's there's definitely a difference in taste for the
Yeah.
most part.
I
Heidi
mean,
Dolan's got a couple good ones.
oh yeah, I've heard that. I would need to try them. The reason I've tended to avoid micros is they get blasted. That foliage is kind of like the dwarfs, only worse, where the plants are so compact that if you do have septoria blowing around, man, they can just become defoliated really, really
Totally.
quick.
Jen
So
and I talk about this all the time. Ours do better indoors.
yes,
Like I
yes,
almost want to
They
grow them exclusively indoors because you're absolutely right. The foliage is like gone on a lot
yeah.
of my micros up there.
So I think there's definitely a spot for them. There's definitely an increased interest. I need to find out what happened to bunny hop because when I went to the heritage seed site with bunny hop, it was giving me a 404. So I don't know if
Oh,
that website has was it temporarily gone or permanently gone, but I would always send people to bunny hop to find micros, and Victory is starting to carry a lot more than
are they?
and I would
Good.
imagine Teresa Smith
Oh,
is probably carrying some more of them as well. So I love it when niche companies pop up and take on a specialty like Renaissance. I don't know if they're still in business. They were mirroring everything that Victory was releasing. Renaissance was buying seeds from Victory. And then a year or two later, they were putting out all of the dwarfs, which is great. Um, no seed company should ever feel like somebody taking their varieties and selling them is bad thing. It's
right.
about reach. It's about getting the most varieties available out there. Now, all of the seed company owners are saying, Craig, that's not right. It's competition. We need to make money. But I'm all for distribution and access,
Yeah,
having it out there in as many places as possible.
there's
So I
enough
think that's the
room for
breeding question.
everybody.
I think that's what people are working at. I'm having fun myself with crossing into heirloom with heirlooms with interesting colors and flavors. For example, I've got an example. Um, I've written on my tomatoes, of course, but it's dark in this room. One of my new favorites, I got lucky with. This is Lucky Bling.
I'm
So,
growing that.
yep.
I haven't had any ripe ones yet.
So I took Blues Bling pollen, applied it to Polish, um, and the hybrid is just a really nice large pink tomato on an indeterminate regular leaf plant. But then my first F2, and I always select for variegation, potato leaf. It's this beautiful 10 to 14 ounce smooth
That's
purple
beautiful.
tomato that tastes really good, and it grows on this beautiful potato leaf variegated plant. So Victory has these seeds. Another one is Mary's favorite, which is from Cherokee Purple times Lillian's Yellow. Uh,
Pretty.
God bless you. This is named by Mary Revell, who did the initial selection on this, one of my seed. And I always say that if you find something great, give it a name, send it back to me, and I'll make sure it gets distributed. It does tend to do radial cracking a little bit if you leave it. This was left on the plant too long. It's got that pale little pink blush that Lillian's Yellow.
Love that.
Yeah, so I think of this as Lillian's Yellow on a regular leaf plant. One more I'll show. Well, I can show lots.
Show
Um,
and tell with Craig. I love
let's
it.
talk about two here. Okay. So one of my weirdest crosses, and I think I send some of the F2 to people, I crossed Cherokee Purple onto a hybrid between Walter's Fancy and Showy Mato. So you had potato
Oh,
leaf, variegation, dwarf, white fruit, bicolor fruit, Cherokee Purple coloring, and the hybrid. This is my most productive tomato. I'm going to pick 30 pounds of fruit off this. It's an 8 to 16 ounce, beautiful, smooth pink. The
that's
flavor is
gorgeous.
wonderful, and it doesn't matter because we're not going to sell the hybrid. So that I've saved tons of seed. So anybody that wants to play around with seeing what's in this, you'll get indeterminate potato leaf and variegated, indeterminate regular leaf and variegated regular leaf, dwarf versions of all these. What happens when you cross purple, white, and bicolor? So why is this tomato pink if we've got those three elements? Well, all three have clear skin. Pink is a clear skin tomato. Cherokee Purple has red flesh with the dark crimson, which is a recessive trait. Walter's Fancy is white. Showy Mato is bicolor. They're both recessive. So you just get red flesh, clear skin, an ordinary old pink tomato, and all of those other recessive traits will start to show themselves when you start growing out saved seed. So anybody who wants to play with this one, and my friend Alex Mooring might be on, he crossed potato leaf yellow, one of my absolute favorite tomatoes. I feel like a juggler here. This is actually working with Cherokee purple. So,
Oh,
so potato leaf yellow times Cherokee purple. Again, the hybrid is pink. But the reason he did that, and this is a wonderful hybrid, it's delicious. We want to try to find the Uluru ochre colored tomatoes in indeterminate plants. And this is the way
Mm.
to find it when you cross Cherokee
Oh,
purple color with orange.
wow.
Anything else I want to show while I'm doing this? One thing to talk about, this ugly fella.
Wow.
My friend Adam grew for my seed. This is Windsall. So this is the tomato that was released by Henderson Seed Company in 1924 as an improvement on Ponderosa. And when we first started selling seedlings at the farmer's market in 1998, it was an elderly man who came up to me and saw plants of Windsall that brought tears to his eyes because he had thought it was extinct and hadn't seen the plant of this variety
Oh,
in
love
50
that.
years. And he used to grow it with his grandfather. And so we gave him plants for about 5 years until he must have passed away. The Joe Lample Growing a Greener World that he did with me back in 16, that's, I kind of opened with that story. But that's any of our grandparents and even parents, this is what they probably would have grown if they were growing the big beefsteak types like Ponderosa. So that's just a little look through.
So anybody that's looking for a tomato, like when they grew up, it could be Windsall.
Yep.
Mm.
Interesting.
And this was sent to me by my friend Cindy Godwin out in the Pacific Northwest. This was from Italy. I think she collected it in Italy, Valdiciana, and
Ooh,
it grows up to a pound. They're fluted chocolate,
they're gorgeous.
totally dense inside. So a
Ooh.
fantastic sauce tomato. So that's just a little run through
What is that one called again, Craig?
Yeah, I was like,
Valdiciana,
Right.
Valdiciana, and I'm going to be talking to Cindy to see if we can send it to Victory for them to release.
Oh,
But
great.
I'm saving lots of seed so people can contact me. Weirdly, when I grew seed and she grew seed, most of it had the purple shading in the stem, but a very few seedlings it was like icy greenish white, which I don't know if any of
Hmm.
you ever look at your seedling stems, but every now and then you get totally pigment free. So at my daughter's house, I'm growing the pigment free plant to see if there's anything different in the fruit.
Interesting.
But so that's just a walkthrough. We're harvesting about 15 pounds, maybe 20 pounds a day. We're canning, and my plants will probably all be dead within 2 weeks.
Yeah, really.
Pith necrosis, septoria leaf spot, fusarium. I can't keep up with it. I don't spray. We'll have plenty of
Yeah, I
tomatoes.
don't either.
It's a successful season. I
Yeah.
don't fret about it. So anyway, that's my little stuff. More questions about
Yeah.
anything?
Here's something from Jamie Hill. I'm having difficult getting my dwarfs to fruit. They keep dropping blossoms. My indeterminates aren't doing this.
It's all going to depend on the particular dwarf and how it feels about your temperatures and humidity. Um, it's not a weakness in the dwarf project, but it's just a reality that we've created these 168 varieties, but they have not been tested in every geographic area, in every type of weather, in every type of soil. We don't know their relative disease resistance. We don't know their relative ability to withstand heat, humidity. We don't know what each of their favored temperature or humidity ranges to set fruit. I would guess that they're probably on the larger fruited side. What I would say is keep the plant healthy, flick those little blossoms, maybe use a little shade cloth around that plant if possible to create a bit of a microclimate to lower the temperature a bit and just hang in there with it. But they're just simply somebody in was it a Joe Lample group the other day told me that their lucky swirl dwarf was not doing well at all. And what I said to them, I had troubles with that in Raleigh, but there are people in other areas of the country that it shines for them. So it's really, we do that with our tomato garden, don't we? Each
Mhm.
year we figured this sounds great. This sounds great. Let's plant it. This worked out great. This sounded great, but didn't work out.
Every
Don't
year.
don't
Yeah.
do three strikes, you're out. Do one strike, you're out because there are just too many
Too
tomatoes to
many.
waste garden space banging your head against the wall on something that
You know what I'm
probably
having difficulty with? Dwarf shimmering beauty.
really.
Yeah, I have one. I didn't it didn't have any fruits or flowers for a while. Now I seem to
Wow.
have one fruit. But yeah, somebody posted a picture in the group the other day. It looks fabulous.
It just
very
does not
pretty.
like your conditions for some reason.
Yeah.
My friend grew it across the road and she picked 20 pounds of fruit off the plant. And so
Wow.
And in a very difficult summer where it was 90 degrees more than
Okay.
usual. So yeah, well, I hope that one develops and you get to taste it. That
Me
may be
too.
one I say, well, if that doesn't do well for you, a very similarly colored one that I really like is Peppermint Stripes from the Dwarf
Yes.
Project.
I'm
I've grown
growing
that
both of those.
one.
Stripes is very pretty too.
Yeah. So anyway, I know I talked a lot there. Sorry, I always
No,
talk.
you're
Oh no, keep
so
going.
and Linda says, so there's no way to kind of prevent the septoria or early blight?
People have been working on trying to come up with septoria resistant tomatoes for as long as people have been growing tomatoes. That is a tough nut to crack. I think Randy Gardner is doing the best work on that, but he tends to focus on commercial hybrids. So, the round, red, determinate tomatoes that will do well for market gardeners. Um,
Mm,
again, nobody has really tested very many at all of the heirlooms to find out which one of them have natural, for tomatoes to last 100, years, some of them must have some natural inbred resistance and tolerance to diseases. But you can't find that information in any seed catalogs because you can't put money into testing something if you can just save seed from it and send it to everybody in the world. There's
right.
there's there's no money in doing research on heirlooms, but there is on creating hybrids. Early blight, I think some tomatoes do have some inbred early blight resistance and tolerance. Have to look at it. They're probably hybrids, and you have to look at the description. Johnny's tends to really be good at mapping out all of the disease tolerances and resistances
I
of their
do.
varieties in their descriptions. And just to make that difference, tolerance is if a plant will do okay even in the presence of the disease and it gets into the vascular system. Resistance is if a plant actually resists that disease coming into its vascular system. So they're two
Mm,
very, very different terms. Um, However, even hybrids that have 50 letters after their name will go down to disease if they're grown in a high disease population area. The hybridization and working in all those disease resistances and tolerances buy you an extra few weeks, maybe 3 weeks.
okay.
But it's always the disease, and where does that septoria and early blight come from? Could be seed borne. Most often than not, it's other plants you have in your yard. If you look at geraniums, when they get those little bullseye spots on the
Hmm.
leaves, that's early blight. And so
Um,
early blight is on different flowers. Septoria is on different flowers and weeds, and it just all comes rushing into your garden. Um, I guess if you were to hermetically seal your plants and, uh, well, put like floating row cover over them and create big cages around your garden, that may reduce it a little bit. But
like the boy in the bubble.
the plant in the bubble.
So
Um,
you mentioned seed borne.
yeah,
What diseases should you not save seeds from as far as fruits?
I cannot find a definitive, consistent list of that anywhere on the internet. I think High Mowing has some information, different colleges, but to me, no one has done a really scholarly, not systemic, systematic test. Which diseases can be passed on to tomato seed, and what are the methods that it can be removed? So you can save tomato seed from fusarium infected plant or septoria plants or early blight plants. If you couldn't, none of us would be able
I
to
was going
really
to
do
say,
any seed
I bet
saving.
Victoria
I
every
think you did
year
good too.
to give it out to everybody.
If you want to give yourself the best chance to success, you can water treat your seed, put them in like the little muslin bags, get a water bath and take it to 122 degrees and immerse the seeds for 25 minutes. Then take them out and plant them. That removes a lot of diseases that could be caught in the seed coat. Um, Hydrogen peroxide. No, the method you use, Jen, to clean your seed,
OxyClean.
OxyClean,
OxyClean.
that probably removes
Mhm.
a fair amount of diseases. A careful use of dilute bleach can remove some of the diseases, but you got to be careful that you don't kill the seed. And I think it's best maybe to treat the seed just before you plant it, because if you treat it and then you dry it and store it, you may find out that your seed doesn't germinate. So,
I've heard
do
that.
a
Yeah.
test on it. So that's a great place to go, and I'm still waiting for that definitive list. I did try to compile everything I could find for a spreadsheet that's in the Joe Lample course, and I'll try to find that and make it available to you guys so you can post it.
Oh, great. I know we've talked about this before, but it's been coming up a lot in our group. We have a lot of new people who've been joining us. In fact, if you're just joining us, hi, everybody, welcome. We're here with Craig LeHoullier, co-founder of the Dwarf Tomato Project and author of Epic Tomatoes.
Nobody says my name better than you.
Thank you. Well, I used to say Craig LeHoullier.
Well, that's okay. I'll answer to that.
And then when I met you, I asked you, and you're like, no, it's LeHoullier. John Kramer's giving away 2 copies of Epic Tomatoes. So all you have to do to win, we'll do a drawing at the end of the episode. Just type #tomato in the comments.
There's one more thing I should say while I'm showing tomatoes, and this is pretty important. So, Cherokee Purple. Notice, pretty smooth. If it does have any cracks, they're going to be radial cracks. Look at the blossom end, smooth, no belly buttons. Black Crim, which many companies have mixed up, Cherokee Purple Flat Crim, have radial cracks, and they tend to have belly buttons. So one of the ways to know if you have the real Cherokee Purple is to look for the regular feature of the fruit. It's not ugly. It's not terribly misshapen. It shouldn't even be huge. It should maybe
So
go
they're all kind of around the same size, aren't they?
12 ounces. Maybe in a good year you'll get a 16, but they tend to be in the 12-ounce range, 10 to 12. But they're a beautiful tomato. I wish I had a Brandywine with me. Same thing with Brandywine. A lot of people are growing potato leaf plants that they think are Brandywine that are not, and they have big, deep creases around the shoulder, and they're really misshapen and ugly. Brandywine should be quite smooth-shouldered and quite regular. So, it would take genetic testing of everybody's seed in every company to really straighten all this stuff out. So if you're growing a tomato and it's not matching the description, you probably have mixed up seed. This is what most of my emails are like at this time of the year.
I bet.
I'm growing X and it doesn't look like the description. And I always say, send a note back to the seed company. They do want to know that. They need to go back to whoever supplies their seed and say that there's been a mistake. Tomato growers supply, when they introduced Lillian's Yellow, quickly replaced it with a totally crossed up variety. And same thing with the Zoichka. That has had some badly crossed seed as well. Perhaps by this time, most tomatoes have had crossed versions of themselves out there. I try to keep it straight. I use a lot of spreadsheets and a lot of descriptive notes to kind of help people toward, I know which of my varieties Rob Johnson introduced. I know which ones Mike introduced at Victory, and I know which ones Seed Savers introduced, and Tomato Growers and Southern Exposure. So I always send people there, for example, for Cherokee Purple, because those are the companies I first sent it to. Everybody else has gotten it secondhand, probably from major seed suppliers, and who knows how careful they are, or if they even know what their harvesting is supposed to look like.
Yeah, I've got people overseas call them cuckoos. That's a variety that's
cuckoos.
I've got a lot of cuckoos in my garden, or not a lot, a bunch, and I had last year too. And every single one came from a vendor.
Yeah, I got a few too. They're vendors.
It happens. I know it happens, but it's a bummer.
Yeah, about 10 years ago, I grew Sun Gold from Johnny's. It's a hybrid. I was getting red tomatoes off it. So
really?
It was the Japanese company supplying them with the seed. And so most of the companies most tomato seed is not grown in the United States. It's grown by big multinationals over in Holland or Japan or China. And then it's brought in wholesale and repackaged and shipped. So it's rare to get the small seed companies like Adaptive Seed and what Victory is doing, a lot of it now, Southern Exposure, that's growing their own seed stock so that they have good control over the purity.
That's good to know.
What a buzzkill. Come on, people. Let's
What zones are our hosts in? I'm in 6B.
I'm in 7A, Northern West Virginia.
I'm in pre-gummy. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not in that zone. Uh, I'm in 7A or 7B. Um, so we have about 2 or 3 days at 90 or above during our summers, and I grow May 1st, and we get our first frost around early November. So it's a pretty long growing season, but it's pretty comfortable. We're lucky. We're at 2,500 feet, so that altitude really keeps us cool.
Nice.
Um, Heidi from Becoming a Green Stalker says, I heard that reflective mulch helps with guarding against septoria. Any truth to that? I've never heard that.
I don't think so because it's a fungus, and I don't think fungus is going to react to it. But I have heard reflective mulch can help with things like whitefly and thrips.
I've
And
never heard of reflective mulch. What is it?
um, kind of aluminum foil type
Ashley
things.
talked about it.
Did you?
Ashley just talked about it in our
Oh,
last
actually,
show
gotcha.
Yeah.
about
So
reflective.
thrips are
It's
bummers.
like straw. Straw could be it.
Yeah, and
Oh,
thrips are bad. And
Yeah.
if you ever use a veggie bee on a tomato flower to do crossing, invariably about 10 or 20 thrips will come out. And the bad thing about that, it's unavoidable, but they spread tomato spotted wilt. So
hmm.
if you get anything you can do to keep thrips out of your tomato flowers is a good thing. Now I haven't had that problem since Raleigh. I had it in maybe 3 or 4 plants. So it's for me, it hasn't been all that common, but I don't know about other people. But not septoria. Uh, any kind of mulch will, right from the start of the season, anything that prevents soil from splashing onto your lower leaves will delay its onset. So that delays anything that will come up and get onto your lower foliage, but you can't really prevent the stuff that then starts blowing in later in the season.
This question we get a lot. What about blossom end rot? Is it mainly inconsistent watering, or are some varieties more likely to get it? I have one tomato and one monkey ass tomato with blossom end rot.
Oh, monkey
I got
ass.
monkey ass last year.
I know that tomato. BER is complex, as I've learned. It's the common factor seems to be plant stress, and plant stress can happen for so many different reasons. It could be irregular watering. Your plants are nicely hydrated. You go to work, the sun comes out, it gets hot. You forgot to water a few plants, they all wilt. They've got little green tomatoes on them. You water them, they all come back. But just that stress of the plant to dry out like that interrupted the calcium flow up into the fruit, and then blossom end rot will result from that. Um, I've decided that from talking to Joe Lampel and others, too much nitrogen can lead to it. I think it's because too much nitrogen will lead to too much plant growth, which stresses the plant. So if you've
Oh,
got
good
a plant
point.
that's going, I need to grow. No, I need to flower. No, I need to set fruit. No, I need to make the tomatoes grow big. The plant's going to say, "Oh, calcium. What do I do?" And it's just not going to get up into the plant where it's needed. Um,
Interesting.
pH, acidic pH. So if you mulch with pine, uh, that can tie up the calcium and not let it get up into the plant.
Oh, really?
Um, think about the Sheboygan and the monkey ass are both plummy type tomatoes, especially the monkey ass.
Hmm.
Roma types, the big opalka type paste, they are
Yeah.
the most prone because, and think of Roma, the tomato machine. They get blossom end rot quite often because they're just trying to do too much. They're setting fruit like crazy. You've got 30 pounds of fruit sitting on the plant, and the plant stresses out because it just can't bring up enough nutrients. So anything you can do to reduce the stress will minimize it. However, it's almost impossible to completely avoid it on maybe a tomato or two from any given plant. It turns out the biggest beefsteak types and the plum tomatoes tend to be the most prone, whereas the round, Marglobe, Rutgers, even Purple Ball, Lemon Boy types, they tend to be the least prone. And I'm not sure why that is. Is it flower structure? Is it just how that plant loses its nutrients. So really detailed answer to a really complex problem. Last year, I had a Cherokee Purple where every single fruit blossom end rotted on it.
Really?
I pulled 50 fruit off it that were same seed lot in the farm a mile down the road, 10 plants, all perfect fruit.
Hmm.
Every other plant in my garden grown the same way did not struggle with it. So there may also be a very unlucky genetic component where you can get a bad seed of a variety that just seems to have a genetic tendency to blossom end rot. So, you know,
Interesting.
yeah, you grow enough tomatoes for enough years and you just find all kinds of things to
I
chat
can
about with your friends. Yeah.
I can add something to the blossom end rot thing. So I just watched a video from Ashley from Gardening in Canada, and she put up. So I, for the past few years, have been putting, um, uh, gosh, what is the name of it? It just went out of my head. What do
Epsom,
you
Epsom salt.
Epsom? I'm like, yeah, Epsom salt. And she said that that's magnesium, right?
Right.
Competes with the calcium in the soil.
Hmm.
Right.
So it'll actually, and I watched this year. I put down very little, but I in like 2 weeks the fruits I guess that would be made from that.
Yeah.
By golly, I have some blossom. So I'm not going to use it next year.
Now, I've never
Interesting.
I've never used it because I've never seen any controlled study that actually says what it does. Now, it can make your foliage a little bit greener because of the magnesium, and in fact, people who grow house plants will often water them with Epsom salts because it greens up the foliage a little bit. But as far as tomatoes, I think it's another one of those urban legends that's just
Mhm.
been passed down for decades and decades and decades. I do it because my grandmother did it. Well,
Right.
I do it because Bill does it. Well, I do it because Craig did it, who said Bill does it, who said his grandmother does it. And you end up with this little chain. Um, I know there's a guy, Bob Pavlich, who's written a book on kind of busting all of the tomato myths, and I haven't looked at it.
Yeah.
But he's a pretty interesting guy, and we've had a few email exchanges. He's very he's pretty terse about it. He's very direct. He has an opinion, and he's not afraid to share it. But whereas I will say, if it works for you, keep doing it. He will
Mhm.
say that's bullshit.
Yeah.
Don't do it. It's a waste of time.
Like people putting a fish in the hole. Um,
Yeah.
Well, some people like their
I'm
gardens
kind of the
smelly.
same mindset you do.
The fish in the hole makes sense because it will break down and give nitrogen. The eggshells in the compost will work in about 1,000 years
I was going to
because
say
of
it
the
takes
time it takes the eggshells
yeah.
to break down. But it aerates, it creates better texture. When I'm at a coffee shop and they've got coffee grounds, I'll add them to my compost because
Well, yeah.
they have a nice texture and they aerate soil. And I'm a coffee roaster. I like to smell coffee every chance I can get. Right now, my compost stinks because you're putting all the rotten stuff into
Tomato
it.
scraps. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They're going to
Onion.
have black gold at the end of it.
Because of all of those blossom end rot tomatoes, I put up shade cloth and now I
Yeah.
can't toss them over. So I just drop them on the ground and it stinks.
We have a little dog. She's a feist type. She loves to roll in smelly stuff, and I think she finds the blossom end rot tomatoes that wind up on the ground and rolls in them. And then she gets into bed with us at night. It's not nice,
Oh,
That's so sweet of her.
and she thinks she just smells so good.
you love me whether I'm smelly or not. Olivia wants to know, can you save seeds from blossom and rot tomatoes?
Yes, because it's physiological, not genetic, unless you get one plant with every single tomato on the plant, like I did with the Cherokee Purple. Now I save seeds from it, so at some point I'm going to grow a plant just to see what happens because I have to answer that question. But
Yeah,
generally, sure,
ferment.
yeah, generally sure. It's really from the stress, and there's nothing wrong. 99.9% of the time, so you can. That's actually BER tomatoes, chewed on tomatoes, you know, rotten on the top tomatoes because they were too close to the string or the stake. Those become my seed saver tomatoes
Yeah, I do
because they're
that.
not particularly palatable.
No.
Never take a bite of a tomato you think may be rotten because you may never want to eat a tomato again in the rest of your
Oh,
life. Oh
that
my
would be tragic.
God, it's so awful.
Sometimes blossom end rot only happens in some of the early tomatoes, but then corrects itself, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's because the plant reaches equilibrium after it's been going a while. It's got everything in sync. Okay, we're doing some foliage today. We got some flowers out here. But early in the season, man,
Mhm.
it's usually like a rocket, the way it shoots out of the ground.
Yeah,
And I'm thinking
that
of
happened to me this year.
what's that?
I
Sorry.
said that happened to me this year. They
Yeah.
went nuts. They were
Yeah.
like 6 foot tall in like 3 weeks. I was just like,
Yeah.
what is happening?
Well, this is where I was saying I got tired of mixing up liquid fertilizer and feeding my bales weekly. And plus, that's pretty high nitrogen stuff. So this year I just took like a small little handful, a few tablespoons of 10, 10, 10, and just spread it over the top of the bales every 3 or 4 weeks. Everything worked just as well this year as it did last year. So I'm always looking for ways to make less work for myself. And
Mhm.
when Joe and I were talking about too much nitrogen leading to blossom end rot, my tomatoes are really nice this year, just with that. And I'm almost thinking that when you prepare your bales, you're just cranking so much stuff into it. That actually may last quite a lot of the season, and you only have to do a minimal feeding after that. So these are the things I'm a scientist by training, and I kind of garden with a scientific mind as I look at things, but yet I eat like it's an art, like it's a food, it's the colors, it's the funny
Mm.
foliage. So it is a right brain, left brain thing. You can engage everything when you're out there gardening. It's just try to learn something every season that you've
Mhm.
not either something you've not seen before or something that's been a problem for you for years. Try to solve that. And then there'll be a new problem next year to solve.
Yeah.
It is fun. It's always
So you
lifelong learning, but that's part of the fun, isn't it? It's aggravating and you love it, and then sometimes you hate it, but then you get the delicious this, at the end of it.
Here's the tricky part.
Hopefully delicious. Not always delicious, but most of the time delicious.
The tricky part is when you get a little bit older or you reach that part of the season and it's hot outside and you say to yourself, I should go water, or I should get to that foliage, or I should go harvest. You just can't do it. And then a day later you get out and you're like, I knew this was going to happen. So
Mhm.
gardening
I
is
don't think you
also,
have to be older for that because I'm there.
yeah, yeah, it is work to deal with the disease foliage on your plants is one of the most unrelentingly difficult things to do because you're snipping and snipping. It's coming off the plant. You got like a little Charlie Brown Christmas tree left, and the
Mhm.
tomatoes are all exposed to the sun, and you're worried about sun scale. But if you don't, you're going to lose that plant within a week. So it's like, but I think it's okay. I think when it gets hot, gardeners have the right to say, I don't want to do that today.
Yeah.
And, you know,
It has been hot in a lot of the United States. It's been very, very
the
hot.
heat dome. I bet you a lot of the
Yeah.
people that are on have been under that heat dome.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
it's been kind of gross this past week. Today was lovely though here,
Today it was here
but
too.
Monday,
We are going to
I
have,
put up
go ahead.
I put up shade cloth over at Materville, and I tell you what, it makes all the
Yeah.
difference.
Yeah.
Oh, it was so pleasant to. I was like recorded a video where I was like picking the tomatoes and everything.
Yeah.
Where before I was just like, I couldn't see my phone
Yep.
because the sun was beating down, and then my phone would overheat, and just I was sweating, miserable, the bugs, but like, and for just me putting
Yeah.
up the shade cloth,
Yeah.
wonderful, but I can't imagine how my plants enjoy it.
Yeah.
Well, there was one day this week where I watered and I harvested, and I came in, and my wife says, why are you like drenched like that? I'm like, because I'm drenched. It was like 80% humidity, 70 dew point, 85 degrees, and just watering and picking. It's enough to kind of, into the shower.
Yeah.
My garden t-shirts are
Yeah.
getting heavily used right now.
And then you're covered in the tomato
That's
tar.
it.
Like
Yeah.
Oh
it's
yeah.
everywhere.
Yeah. It's
It's
like
on my legs.
embedded
Brush
into your
past me.
fingers.
It does not come off. So any other questions? And, I can talk about corn in a little while. People want to go there and why that worked, but let's keep it tomato.
Here's some
Um,
fruit, Darla. My mother always grew a wonderful deep yellow orange tomato when I was in my teen years in the 1960s. I think the original seeds came from a friend of hers from Kentucky. Any idea what variety they might be?
It could have been Jubilee. Jubilee was a variety that Burpee released in 1943, and it won one of the All American awards. It's an orange tomato, not huge, maybe in the 8 to 10 ounce range. That disease resistance was added to it. It was then named Sunray by the USDA, and then Johnny's did a selection of it called Valencia. So Sunray, Valencia, and Jubilee are all pretty much the same tomato. If it was
Hmm.
big and lumpy and irregular, it could have been, occasionally through the years, seed companies would put out a large yellow or orange tomato. Burgess put out Colossal Golden. Um, Henderson put out the Shah, which actually I think is now yellow brandywine.
Oh,
So
really? I didn't know that.
it would be interesting to know what the size of the tomato was, how regular it was, and if she got to look at the foliage to see what the foliage was. Um, there's a lot of heirloom tomatoes that originate from West Virginia and Kentucky. They have all kinds of different names. Barnes Mountain Orange and Kellogg's Breakfast could be related to one of those as well. So,
Yeah, Jim Wyant is a big collector of and
yes,
seller of
yeah,
those Kentucky and Appalachian heirlooms.
yeah. And it's hard to know how many of those are unique to that area and how many of those are tomatoes from other areas that have just taken on different names. We
Mm,
will never know
right,
because you're not going to genetically test all of these. But it's fun. It's fun.
it is
You
fun.
need them to keep the stories associated with them so you can
Right.
tell the stories when people are in your garden looking at them.
So there's a tomato that is going on in our group. She's from Instagram. Her name is Brooke from Shorty's Funny Farm.
Ha!
And several years ago, a tomato came out of her burn pile, and
Yeah.
it's the delicious purple big tomato that she loves. Has no idea what it is, but she
Yep.
stabilized it for a few years, and she calls it Red Trash Panda. So
Ha!
we gave Jen and I and Kina seeds to give out to many members of our group. I know Kids Seed Company is going to be
Yeah.
selling.
Cool.
And the thing is, it's not like a tomato just bursts out of the burn pile and a new tomato is created. So it was something,
Yeah.
but it's a great
Yeah.
tomato, so she had to name it. You
Well,
know,
this is why the Seed Savers has 10 to 12,000 listings because of just that, because of the volunteers, because, you know, German Johnson goes into the Smith family and 10 years later becomes Grandpa Smith's favorite.
right?
You can't
Mhm.
avoid that. I think the important thing going forward is to keep the name, keep that story associated with it so that it's known because I fear we're losing a lot of our stories. There's so
Agreed.
many tomatoes coming out that we're losing the stories and it's so I hope to have an update on this in a week or two. I think I talked about this last time. I read my wife books during the day when it's hot outside. And I was
Oh,
reading her an Agatha Christie mystery, and on 2 pages, there were dried tomato seeds. Just one. In that whole book, there were two dried seeds. So I scratched them off. This is a library book that had been probably passed around the library since I don't know how long. It looked pretty beat up. So I figured I'll save them and we'll plant them. And they both germinated. And my friend Elijah is growing one and I'm growing the other. And at this point, it's a round 6 to 8 ounce tomato with no dark green shoulders on it. I
hmm.
don't know what color it's going to turn. I don't know how big it's going to get, but it will be Agatha.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
Because it's a mystery. And
Yeah.
I will
Yeah.
save seeds, and
That's
if it's
cool.
good, I'll certainly share it around and other people can grow. But you never know. Somebody was munching on a sandwich the day they were reading that book, and a seed dripped onto
Mhm.
that
Right.
page, and then
Yeah.
another page. And this is why I am meant to do this because why am I the one that always ends up finding all the weird, weird stuff? So anyway, there you go. That's my little growing out of the compost, but it's growing out of a library book instead.
Yeah.
Speaking of books and for preserving stories of a lot of our heirloom varieties, this is one of Craig's books called Epic Tomatoes. It's a fabulous book. You can get it on Amazon. You can get it at thrift bookseller sometimes as well. It comes in hardcover. I think you can. Can you still order for them from your website too, Craig?
You can ask me. I only stock the softs. If people want the
Okay.
hardcover, they should go where it's least expensive, and I can send them a book plate.
Oh,
I know Amazon has really discounted my books, which is fine. I mean, So that book's been out for 10 years. And for 10 years, I get every 6 months, I get a check for about $1,000.
Mhm.
So anybody who thinks they can get rich being an author, you have to be Stephen King or
Yeah.
somebody else. But the nice thing about that check coming in, twice a year is it means it's still selling.
People
It,
are
it,
still, yeah.
which
Mhm.
blows me away. Story still has not asked me to write an upgrade, and a lot of people ask me if the information is current. There's nothing in it that's wrong, but there's so much more I wish I could add
Right.
because I wrote most of that in 2012-13, and I've been gardening 12 years beyond that.
Yeah.
And so if they do ask me someday to do an upgrade, I'll be able to just put a lot more new stuff into it. So you can all lobby Story. Hey, Story, need to ask Craig to do an upgrade. No,
There's
it's still
great
fun.
photos in here too. I
It's
mean,
gorgeous. It's a gorgeous book.
it's a gorgeous book.
That
Yeah.
was the hard. That was the
That
hardest
was,
part. That
that
hard
was the
part.
first tomato book I ever read.
What's the what?
That was the first tomato book I ever
Really?
read.
Oh, that
Yep, it's my favorite.
warms my heart. I started with, so I've read Jim Hendrickson's The Great American Tomato, Fred DuBose's Tomatoes or something like that. And then there wasn't much. Gary Ibsen's book, Carolyn Mail's book.
I don't think I knew Gary Ibsen had a book.
Yep,
What's
he
his?
is. I'm not sure, but I had it and read it. This was early on in the Heirloom days, and then Carolyn's came out, and then I wrote mine. And there's been others. I am shocked that there is not the next big tomato book that comes out that builds on mine and adds to it. But you
Yeah.
know, I fully expect someone will, and I
I
hope
wonder
you.
who would write it though. It needs to be you.
Well, whatever. It's still, the whole thing is still kind of unbelievable to me. I kind of wake up every day shocked at how lucky I've been every day. My wife of 45 years, our little grandson, doing these things. I'm just a lucky guy. So I'm always happy to just share anything that I learn, my seeds, with anybody who wants to know what I've got up in my little brain that day.
Well, that's why we love having you on. I know we tell this story every time you're on, but last year I just took a chance and I emailed Craig asking him to be on the show. It must have been early last year because
Yeah.
you've been coming here for like a year and a half or so. And I thought it was a really slim chance. I didn't know Craig at the time, and I told Jen. And then it was after one of our shows, Jen and I, with our producer Michael, I saw your email come in. I saw a notification. I'm like, oh my God, Craig emailed me back. And it was a yes, you'd come on the show. We freaked out, did we not, Jen?
We lost our minds. For like 20 minutes, we were just losing our minds.
Hey
It
man,
was great.
I'm easy. What can I say? It's an honor to do these. You guys are, so it was
Oh,
Carolyn and me, and then there were people who did this before us, and now you guys are part of the young people who need to take this forward. So my friend Alex, Lance with Tomato Revolution in England, it's really important that this stuff is kept on. And I'll always promote the heirlooms because I worry that they'll drop off again.
mhm.
The race to the latest hybrid or the race to the latest pretty picture on the cover of the seed
Right.
catalog, the Winzals and the Cherokee Purples will end up getting forgotten again. That's why I do so much seed saving and documentation of my collection, so that if something does get lost out there, I've got seed that I can then reintroduce it. So I figure I can do that for another 30 years. And after that, who knows? Just got to make sure my Excel spreadsheet with all my numbers doesn't vanish, because how I
Oh,
document all my stuff is pretty tenuous.
I think you've shown me your spreadsheet, or at least a spreadsheet that you
Yep.
put together. It's a lot.
And
Jen and I were talking about this the other day. She and I, oh, there they are.
my saved seeds from this year so far. I leave my envelopes open just in case they haven't dried down totally, and that way
Okay.
air can flow in them.
Jen and I were talking the other day. We've tasted so far, I mean, the season's still early for me, but we've tasted a lot of okay tomatoes this year. I've had two that were really outstanding, but I still haven't even gotten a half of mine.
Mm.
But I am growing a lot of the newer stuff too. I know you saw my review of Malachite
Yeah.
Black, which was hideous. Like, it's really rare I spit a tomato out. That one was disgusting. I'm not even convinced it's really Malachite box mutation. It just doesn't make any sense. But
But as I told you, it is so important to highlight those that are not good because not everything can be great. And
right,
that doesn't help anybody.
right,
If they're looking to grow a tomato in 100 different descriptions, say, this is the best tomato I've ever had, you
right.
need a gradient to help people.
And I don't sell seeds, so I have no reason. I mean, of
Right.
course, taste is subjective. Not everybody's going to agree with me, but I don't sell seeds, so I can be honest, you know. But yeah, but I don't know if you saw my review today. Tasted one that Jen
Yeah.
gave me today, called Swisher Sweet. Have you
Yeah.
tried that?
I
It's
haven't grown it. And I know of it, but I've not grown it before.
excellent tomato.
Yeah.
It looked like a whole lot of nothing, and
Yeah.
it tested like a 9 on the refractometer, which is very high for a beefsteak.
Yeah.
It really just shows you can't judge a book or tomato by its color because it looked like a little nothing red tomato and it was delicious. Thank you, Jen, for that plant.
Probably
Oh, you're welcome.
named after the little cigar,
I
don't you
think
think?
so, yeah.
That's why I love Nepal. Doesn't look like anything. It's a little round 6 ounce, 8 ounce red tomato.
Writing down Nepal.
The taste is spectacular.
Yeah,
That's the tomato that converted me to heirlooms in 1987 when I first grew that. I decided,
really.
screw this hybrid shit, man. I'm going all, I'm going all heirlooms. And I did. I set up that whole contest that's in the back of my book. For 3 years, I grew hundreds of tomatoes and checked yields and flavors. And I called it the Great Competition. It's all documented. So my wife thought I was really insane those 3 years when I was weighing every single tomato I harvested.
Every single tomato you harvested? Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
because I wanted gross weights from each plant. I wanted to prove to myself, and Hughes, I think, or Yellow Bell, each gave me 40 pounds of fruit on one plant. And the
Wow.
best hybrid I grew was like Better Boy, 16, 18 pounds. So the heirlooms competed beautifully with the
Yeah.
hybrid.
I had, I think it was 2 years ago, I had a Cherokee Purple. It was my first year with mushroom compost, and I swear I got 40 pounds of
Oh
Cherokee.
yeah,
And a
yeah,
lot of people say they don't get a lot from Cherokee Purple, but I had a whole row of Cherokees, Cherokee Green, Cherokee Lime,
yeah,
Cherokee Purple, and it did fantastic.
yeah. If my friend Alex is on, I've got one of his that's in development. So he crossed Earl with Cherokee Green, and he's working on
Ooh,
something called Cherokee Sunburst, which
ooh,
is potato leaf, yellow
Ooh.
fleshed, dripping. Uh, the slugs have been at this one, and a bicolor.
Oh,
Mine is too yellow. Tastes good, but it's too yellow. So he's working on that one. It's at the F5 right now, and we want to think about, so that's a pink times a green, and he's got this beautiful yellow red bicolor out of it. So go figure.
sounds good.
I
Um,
grew Earl this year. I was trying to see if I had one on the table here. I can't
nothing
find
right
one.
yet, but I'm getting very productive so far.
Yeah. Earl is just spectacular. Yeah, I would say I've been really lucky. Now I stacked the deck. I grew pretty much almost all my favorites. So Captain Lucky, Brandywine, Cherokee Green, Purple Chocolate, Earl have all been 9 out of 10s. They've just been so incredibly potato leaf yellow also. Um, so that makes me happy. A friend sent me Rosella Cherry, asking me to grow it versus Sun Gold. Still like Sun Gold a little bit better,
Yeah,
but Rosella Cherry is okay. A
yeah,
little bit firmer than I like.
right.
Doesn't have that tropical boom. Doesn't have that impact punch, but it's pretty. I like it better than Black Cherry, I think.
You know what I'm growing this year's Sun Green
Really? Oh
4029
yeah, yeah, yeah.
hybrid. It's good. I like green tomatoes. It's good. It's a little crunchy, so it won't split like the Sun Gold
Yeah,
do. It's
yeah.
very tasty, very sweet. But I wanted it is a hybrid. I wanted to try it. The seeds came from my friend Heidi. She sent me
Oh
seeds. That
yeah.
came from Johnny's.
But you remind me, I need to talk to everybody about this. So Captain,
Right.
right? Captain Lucky Times Sun Gold. Some people got the hybrid seed, and I hope you grew it. I grew it. I didn't have many to send out. It's about a 2.5 to 3 ounce orange round tomato that's really delicious. It's kind of what I expected it to be. The F2, that's what I'm interested in. Anybody who I sent F2 seed to, I'd love to know what it's doing for you. I've got a potato leaf cherry that's oval, that's yellow and orange with a red blushing, and
Ooh.
it's delicious. And I've got a
Mm.
regular leaf green flesh that looks like mini Captain Lucky.
Oh
So those are my
gosh.
two, and I'll have seed. They're
I had
not
trouble
stable.
germination, so I
Yeah.
couldn't grow
Well,
it.
they're not stable yet. I am saving a ton of seed from the hybrid, so
Okay,
I can get this out to everybody who
right.
wants it. Plus, I've got the
Yes,
two F2s. Alex got a plum-shaped orange, and his hybrid that I sent him the plant of turned out red. And he's like,
mm,
"How can that happen?" And I said, "Well, Sun Gold has two parents, and it could be that one of those parents expressed when it did the cross. I don't know, but he's
Right.
going to have to grow out." And I think one person who got two to germinate got an orange cherry she really likes and a red cherry. So we're just at the beginning of this project, and I'm really happy to. I'm saving tons of seed so we can.
Right.
Nothing bigger than 3 ounces yet, which was
Okay,
my hybrid.
cool.
But I think it's in there. It's just we have to.
Yeah, I tried
mm.
starting it. I had trouble. It wasn't germinating for me, but I'll get seeds from
Yeah,
you for
these are
this.
great. I've got great seed now, so you'll get
Those
them for
sound
sure.
cool. This is our friend Akelia.
Oh yeah.
She's trying to manually pollinate as many flowers as I can. At which point are flowers past the point of pollinating?
So are you just flicking them or are you just putting a little brush inside of them? Because tomato flowers, I assume, tomato flowers should pollinate as they open, but I assume what's happening is you may be having blossom drop issues because of the heat. And so either flicking or moving a paintbrush around each flower can help a little bit. It'll work until what I find is wild bees tend to come out in the summertime. And if you look at your flowers, they look a little brown and chewed up on the end. That means they've been visited by a bee. You can't get pollen out of those. You can't really do anything to help those. So you need the flowers to be still bright yellow. That means they haven't been chewed by the bee. And it seems to happen worse with cherry tomatoes. But those little bees get in there and bumblebees get in there and they have fun and they get the pollen and they chew and then they render the flower. You can't get anything out. So I think that's as long as they're bright yellow and they're still in the plant, once they start drying up, there's nothing, the deed is done. It's either going to form a tomato or it's going to shrivel up and drop off.
So it doesn't matter how late in the season is because I'm trying to make a few crosses and I've made crosses, so I've done it before. I'm having trouble getting pollen.
Yes, humidity and heat
Oh, okay.
and rain make it impossible. So you need to pick a day where it's humidity is low, temperature is kind of low, and get out in the morning just when the flowers dry off, and that's when your pollen will come out.
Okay.
Some varieties, it's very tough to get pollen out of small flowered varieties like micros, Mexico midget,
I know.
sun bubble.
And
Yeah,
the flowers fall off. It's very tedious, but
it is tedious, but
um,
yeah, I would wait for a drier day and you should be okay. But yeah,
okay.
you can go right up. What I find the problem is later in the season, even if you get pollen and do a pollination, your season may be not long enough, or the plant may not live long enough
Develop a
for
red
that fruit
fruit.
to mature. Yeah.
That's a good point.
So
Yeah.
I try to do my crosses early on, but the problem with that is the plant grows around where you did the cross,
Mm,
and you can't even see where it happened or if it happened or not. So
right.
I did a lot of
Mhm.
crosses this year, and I don't think I was very successful, but I'm fine with that because I've got too much to play with anyway.
Right.
Mm.
I
You,
did get fuzzy pink to cross with something, and it crossed with either Sweet Sue or the variegated chartreuse one, Dwarf. I'll know. So I just planted a seed today to make sure that it's not fuzzy because it was from the fuzzy plant. If the cross worked, the seedling will not be fuzzy. But then I would have to save seed from that and see if there's any chartreuse seedlings in the mix. And then I can confirm what I did the cross with. So
it sounds exciting.
yeah, they're all kind of fun. And they
Yeah,
make you.
I grew your Cherokee purple crossed with red fuzzy, and I grew 6 of those plants. And there's 4 different kinds of
Yep.
Oh,
plants.
neat.
Yep.
I think I think there's like 2 really fuzzy. One almost looks like super duper fuzzy.
Yep.
One's fuzzy, but the fruits sort of look the same on both
Yeah.
of those.
I've
And
grown about
then
I've grown about 10,
there's,
and I've got variable fuzziness, and I've got
okay,
purple, red, and pink as my fruit colors. Size from
yep,
2 to
I've
12
got,
ounces. Okay,
yep,
what
yep.
else,
I've
Jen?
got some right here with the bigger ones here. This
Um,
is the biggest.
Yes, yes.
oh, those
Some
are
of the
pretty.
fruit.
I hope they have
Yeah.
some flavor. Uh, the ones that are fuzziest, they're probably worth then crossing them on with something else really delicious, because I think sometimes you need to go in steps. You get the leaf, and then you need to build in flavor going forward. All of these things are multi-year projects, and the more people you involve in them, the faster it goes.
I know I shouldn't really be making any more crosses at this point. It's addicting though. But last year, I know I've told you this before, I made a cross of Malachite box and dwarf purple heartthrob.
Yeah.
I'm growing out the F2s right now, and I've got two dwarfs out of it. So will those two dwarfs remain dwarfs?
Yes.
One's looks like it's a striped heart,
Yep.
and the other plants, while not dwarfs, are putting out some really neat looking fruit too.
So malachite box, green fleshed, yellow skinned, right?
Yes, right.
Dwarf purple heartthrob. Your hybrid was probably just a red tomato, I would think.
It's
It was kind of purple. The
what?
F1, you mean? The F1 was
The
kind of
F1.
purplish.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whoa.
If I have,
Well, you're growing out F. Are you growing out F2s?
I'm growing up one. Yeah, that's the one he's asking
Yeah.
about.
Um, yeah, I grew it
Because
in,
I would have thought the F1 would be a slightly heart shaped, slightly striped.
it was striped,
Yeah.
kind of purple. I wish I could bring up the picture, but I can't. Oh, is that one of mine?
Is this what? I
That,
think this is one of yours.
Yeah.
so that's interesting. So a
It's
purple
kind of
times a
striped a
green
little
gave
bit.
a purple hybrid. That's fascinating.
Yeah.
Wow. Very cool.
And so
It's tasty too.
I'm really excited about the dwarfs that are coming out of that.
Good, good. And
Um,
our audience is probably going, what the hell are they talking about? But it's fun, folks.
it is. Jane Swing wants to know, does anybody else prefer to eat tomatoes with salt or on a sandwich instead of by themselves? It's a texture thing primarily, and I seem to taste the sour tang better with salt.
What about you? You guys answer first. What do you think?
I never taste with
Um,
salt when I do my tasting and my reviews. We never do with salt. But if it's on a sandwich, I do salt. I like truffle salt. I use Wonder Bread, which
If
is really white trash, but then I put truffle salt on it.
if it's store bought, it needs salt.
Yeah.
It has to have something. But yeah, I don't use salt normally.
Yeah. When you're taste testing a tomato, you shouldn't use anything because it will really alter your perception of the flavor of the tomato. To eat it, nothing is better than a caprese salad, right?
Yep.
Sliced tomatoes, salt, pepper, basil, olive oil. Oh, I showed the grilled cheese on my Instagram too, which is my favorite sandwich. It's crusty, really fresh baked sourdough, the best tomato you can find, a cheese that's really assertive, and just cook it until it's so crunchy on the outside. It's almost like a panzanella. It ends up almost like a bread
Oh, that's
tomato
the
salad.
bread salad from Straw.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have to eat that grilled cheese with a fork because it is just so juicy with the tomato and the cheese that it kind of falls apart on you. Oh, but my God, it's so good.
Sounds like heaven.
And my
Yeah,
favorite thing
I'm
to do,
getting.
go ahead. Go ahead, Jen. I cut you off.
Oh, I just said I'm hungry. I said I'm getting hungry.
Oh, I'm always hungry.
Hungry.
My favorite thing to do with the big ones right now, and Sue loves it, it's so easy. You just cut tomatoes in slabs. I put on a big leaf of basil, salt, pepper, olive oil, and then a slice of some cheddar, and then breadcrumbs, and then Parmesan, and then drizzle it with olive oil.
Oh,
And you bake it at 400 for about 12 minutes. Then you put it under the broiler for 2 or 3 minutes and put it on rice.
sounds good.
God,
Mm.
it is so good. Now you destroy the individual character of the tomatoes, of course,
Right.
because but it's like heaven. So somebody asked a question
Yes.
about honor bright.
Livingston's Honor Bright, which changes colors multiple times as it ripens, green to white to yellow to orange to red. Are you aware of any crosses with this one?
I've made a few. It's really weird. So honor bright is a mutation that Livingston released in, I think, 1902, and it has yellow foliage. So anybody I've shared seeds of the crosses with thinks their plant is sick, but it's not sick. It
Mm.
just, I also feel like any of these yellow leaf tomatoes look like they have early blight or septoria. They have these little blemishes. But Livingston describes it as the most unique tomato, and it is really weird. So they start off green, then they go pure white, and then they originally get to red where you can eat them. They're not the absolute best flavored tomatoes in the world. I've actually got a potato leaf variety I want some people to help me grow that came out of turkey chomp that I named Surprise, and it is essentially a potato leaf, large fruited version of Honor Bright, and I'm growing it this year to get some fresh seed.
Oh,
What did I cross it with? Um, I think I made the Scotty family out of it. So I do have some dwarfs that have the yellow foliage that have heart-shaped pink and gold striped fruit that have not been released. One of them is called what did I call it? Scotty something. I think Lance is selling it at Victory, and I think Meraki Seeds. I may have gotten some seeds to them, but it's very tricky to play with. I've crossed it with Dwarf Blazing Beauty, and I do have yellow leaf dwarfs that are regular potato leaf, but I've gotten nothing really good out of them. I think the mediocre flavor gene of Honor Bright needs a lot to be overcome, but it is definitely fun to play with. So I would, and the same thing with the Chartreuse gene. That's the Mullins Mortgage Lifter Chartreuse. That's a fun gene to work into plants. And then, of course, you get your carrot leaf foliage, and you get your fuzzy foliage. That's why this becomes
the
endlessly
whole of
fascinating.
that stuff. Yeah.
I'm growing one of yours. Heidi Dolan gave me seeds for dwarf jade charisma,
Oh yeah, that's got
the chartreuse potato leaf.
yeah, that came from a Joe Lample student who got that in. It showed up in one plant in Victory Seeds Dwarf Jade Beauty. So whether it's a mutation or a little the bees played a game on Mike that year, I don't know. Yeah, let me know what you think of that
I
one. I
will.
wish,
I
I
will.
wish the fruit were larger, but it's still a nice tomato.
Jen's dying for that one because her daughter's name is Jade, so she grows anything with the name Jade in it.
Oh, cool.
The Wickershire Project off grid says, do USA soils in general have everything we need to grow in for native plants? When we garden and grow heavy feeders, we lightly till compared soil and then grow it in every year or compacted. So he's correcting, or he or she
You know,
compacted soil.
my feeling is the soil in the U.S., it's a complex question because in most areas of the country, it's been altered from what it was. When the settlers came, they had the Dust Bowl that blew the topsoil.
Mm.
But in various areas of the country, it tends to have different minerals. And so the native plants for that area are going to be adapted to grow in those native soils. So I think if you're talking about wildflowers and natives, it's a different question than if you're talking about vegetable gardening, where most of what we grow has come from elsewhere. And we're kind of force fitting it into our soil by providing it whatever it needs that the soil doesn't provide. So if we're growing tomatoes, it doesn't like a pH that's too low. So we have to bump it up with calcium. But that's a great question. I have actually never heard that soil before. You can never go wrong adding compost to soil because it makes it richer. It improves the tilth. Even heavy clay grows plants great because it holds nutrients and it holds water.
Right.
It's just a pain in the neck to have to deal with
It
because of
is.
clumps. Sandy is tough because water drains right through, so you have to add something to retain the moisture. But it's a nice. Have you two guys got anything to add? Because that's one to think about for a good 45 minutes, and I've never gotten that one before.
Not
I add mushroom compost every year because I just feel like
Yeah,
the tomato plants get so big and they produce so much fruit. I can see where it would kind of suck the energy out of
yeah,
your soil. And I add
yeah,
compost. Like I make
yeah,
my own compost, so I make my own leaf mold. I'm just
yeah,
trying to add back what I'm taking away.
yeah.
yeah.
And
I
if you're
think
and
so.
if you're doing containers of straw bales, you're not building up soil. You're just growing the tomatoes in that spot in that year and it really doesn't
Mm.
matter what's happening to the container. So it really depends how you're gardening. Raised beds, of course, you need to consider what you're thinking of, Jen, which is building up that soil, so you don't have to replace it every few years.
Yeah.
I remember reading once where hybrid tomatoes have been bred to need a lot more fertilizer. And in my
Hmm.
days of growing lots of heirlooms, it is true that it doesn't seem to matter what you feed them. They become monster plants and produce like machines. So I think, they've been around a long time because they persevere. They survive. They know how to make it. So that's the other benefit of growing the heirloom types.
Yeah, I'm with Jen. I do the mushroom compost too, and I do put some amendments in my raised beds. I add some perlite just to
Mm,
make it so it's not so compact, but um, and I don't add new mushroom compost every year. Generally, we just
mhm.
reuse it. Although we keep building more beds, so we keep having to add more order more mushroom compost.
Yeah, it's the best stuff. When we lived in
And,
Pennsylvania, we would get it from the Kennett Square mushroom farms and just
oh
have
yeah,
have big truckloads of it, delivered in our driveway, and I'd wheel it up and put it in my garden. Had the best gardens there.
it is. Tomatoes just love it. It's like crack.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Rach says types of magnesium. Epsom has more salts like sea salt. I'm wondering versus magnesium citrate or oxide. Citrate or oxide doesn't help the absorption of calcium.
I'm not sure about, I'd have to put my chemistry hat on and look at what are the salts of those two types, what is the availability. But I think in either case, what we were saying earlier is we don't think magnesium is tremendously beneficial. So it's kind of a moot point. Whether you need to add calcium or not, that really depends on doing a soil test. If you've got a new garden bed, to see if you do get blossom end rot. In that case, it may be that you're totally depleted on calcium, and that's when you would add some back to try to get that into the soil. But I would think I look at calcium like many as a micronutrient of tomatoes, and just dumping a whole bunch of calcium it's like if you take 10 grams of vitamin C every day, you're going to pee 99% of it out.
Right.
I think same thing happens with plants. It's got way too much of this, and it's only going to use a trace amount. I don't see a tomato plant peeing out calcium. I see lots of things in the garden, but I've never seen that. Now, me on my straw bales,
Me? Oh, okay. Because
I,
some people do swear by that.
my dogs do.
Oh, okay.
And, and Marlon seems to, he's the guy who can aim, and he seems to pick like a different straw bale every other day.
Well, would I keep doing it? Whatever he's doing, it's working. Jen, we have about 5 minutes left. Make sure you type in hashtag tomato for your chance to win. 2 people will win a copy of Craig's book. Thank you to John Kramer. Craig has kindly agreed to send signed book plates and also some seeds to the 2 winners. Thank you, Craig and John.
Does gardening create a time warp where an hour becomes 2 minutes? This is like ridiculous.
This has been 90 minutes, and it does. It goes way too fast, especially when you're on.
Great.
Something.
Always learn so much.
Missy
I'm
Smith.
genetic.
Ferris wheel is over 8 feet tall and producing huge tomatoes.
My friend Missy, yes, Ferris wheel that's a variety I rescued out of the USDA in 2005, realizing it hadn't been grown in decades. And then I found the seed catalog that it was an 1894 introduction, and I love it. It's one of those tomatoes that should never have gone obsolete, and it's not obsolete anymore. So thank you for growing that one. That's an important variety, I think. It's really good.
Good to know. I haven't grown it. Sunny wants to, do you add any fertilizer during the season or only compost once at the beginning of the season?
For me, since I'm almost all straw bale container garden, it's kind of a moot point. I do provide occasionally because the plants can't get it any other way. But Jen and Lauren, I'm sure you must dose your plants up occasionally throughout the season.
I haven't done it really this year.
Have other years. The stuff I put in my grow bags, the stuff in the raised beds and in the ground, I really don't. I do some amendments when I first plant, but I don't generally fertilize myself.
I used Hybrix this year, Hybrix fertilizer, and I mean, it's like a slow release. So Now that my plants look like, trash, I'm kind of like, I don't want to waste my stuff.
Yeah, that's a good point. It does get expensive.
So here's what's liberating when you look at your plants and you decide, I don't have to go out there and pull the foliage off anymore. I don't have to feed you anymore. I am just going to water you and pick whatever you give me. And that is that. That is such a
I'm not even
liberating
going to
point of
water
view.
you.
Do you recommend pulling off the foliage even like I've got some crusty leaves and yellowing leaves at the bottom and in general like early on I start, but do you recommend should I still be taking stuff off the plant or
It depends on how the rest of the plant looks, and if you've still got a big part of the season left, yeah. Um, I've kind of in the middle and getting toward the end of mine, so it's like it comes down to cost benefit. What is the cost of me spending hours out there in the heat when the benefit is going to end up being minimal because none of those little flowers at the top are going to produce tomatoes that are going to ripen.
right?
So,
I can't even reach the ones that look like they're surviving. They're like 8.5 feet
yep,
tall.
yep.
Same.
Can't even reach that part of the trellis. I'm just like, I hope you guys taste good up there because no one's gonna know.
Kelly says, I picked my first 2 Dwarf Eagle Smiley tomatoes today. I'm planning on growing many more Dwarf Tomato Project varieties next year. Are you still expanding the collection?
We're trying, and if you want to jump in and send me an email and ask me for some seed, you can join the team and play. So, see if I've always got stuff to send out that's unfinished, needs to be explored. But yes, it's not going to end until I I get bored with it, but I don't see it ever happening.
Well, good. The Wicker Shear project off grid. I was told compost takes 5 years to completely break down long-term feeding. So should we layer it on thick, lightly compost every year for our forever gardens? Thoughts?
I don't think you can go wrong no matter what you do with it. Mix it in, layer it on. It's not only the nutrients that are give the plant will get some today and it will get some over time, but you're increasing the structure of the soil, you're increasing the drainability. It's black gold. It's great stuff. And
Feeding the microbes too, which
yep, yep.
help everything. So
Micronutrients, the whole shebang. That's the best stuff you can put in your garden. I just can't make enough of it because it's all watermelon scraps and onion skins and tomato cores, and you may start with this much and it's
Yeah.
I need
yeah,
to put
yeah.
leaves and grass clippings and other things in mine to bulk it up, but I never end up doing it. So
Even that composts down to absolutely nothing. I had these 2 huge bins of just leaves, shredded leaves, and I actually added bacteria, like
yeah.
microorganism bacteria, to it, and so that it would speed up the decomposing process. And it like went from 6 feet high to like 2 feet high.
Oh, I know.
Like,
Well, it's like if you mow a lawn and you have a pile of clippings and it's a warm day, you go out a few days later and it's like,
What
and
happened?
it's smoking in the middle because it's just hot.
yeah,
It's so
Yeah.
hot.
and it smells ratchet. Like
It does.
that decomposing grass is nasty. Sometimes Ben will just dump it on my compost pile, and I have like paper shredding from
Yeah.
work that I'll mix it in. But
Yeah.
if I don't get to it fast enough,
Yeah. It's rough.
Missy says Ferris wheel is awesome, ugly, but has a deep old-fashioned flavor.
Great.
mm,
I'm glad
Adding
you're
that to
enjoying
my
it.
list too. I have seeds, but I've never grown it. There's just
Yeah, I know.
every year,
put it down.
I'm not all that young, and I'm like, how many years do I have left of growing tomatoes? How many more can I grow? And I I don't repeat a lot, but I always grow malachite box. This year I did repeat more. I did doing Cherokee Purple, Captain Lucky,
Yeah.
Jarson One I really love. But I don't know. In my mind, I've always thought I'm growing a lot now, and so I can whittle down so I'll only grow my favorites. But every year I'm like, there may be a new favorite. Last year, Bill Yoder's Suffer Well became one of my like most sublime tomatoes ever.
Well, at 68, I started focusing on just my favorites. So you've got a way to go. So the last 2 gardens, I've really focused on my favorites with a little bit of experimental stuff thrown in.
You're doing a few more plants this year than last year, am I right?
Yeah, it
Yeah, last
happens.
year you did like 15 or something.
I think I've got 44 here total, including the grow bag stuff, and then
You got a lot more
my
then.
daughter's growing another 40 in her garden. So I'll be seed saving at least 84 varieties.
You've got her trained well.
Yeah.
Yeah, hers are all toppling. She's depressed about it. I'm like, no, 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 no. They topple. They get too heavy, and it's okay. I'm gonna go and lift plants, and we can.
Oops,
Stuff.
we lost you there for a minute. All right, let's give away 2 books. I can't believe the 90 minutes is over already, but hopefully you guys have put in #tomato. We had over 100 live viewers, at
Great.
least on YouTube.
Randy, Linda. I'm looking at all these
Yeah.
people that I know. Yeah.
So for those of you who, there's 2 winners. You can either email me or private message me if you're on Facebook. If not, you can email me. There's my email address. So let's draw 2 names.
Yep. And Sherman, I do know where Carlisle, Pennsylvania is. I saw his text. I had driven through it. We used to drive through it when we lived in Westchester to go north.
Well, then you need to come to our tomato tasting.
Yes, please.
I'm going to be so close to the knee replacement. And I think, I think we're going to be on our kayaking trip at the beach. Otherwise, I would really consider
next year. First one is Linda J. Congratulations, Linda J. If you can email me or private message me, I'll get you in contact with John Kramer, who'll give you the book, and then Craig, who'll send you the signed book plate and scenes. And then our second winner. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. We do have 101 live viewers right now, which is really exciting.
And thank you for the great questions. I love to hear questions I've never heard before. And it still happens after all the events I've done, after everything, I still hear new questions. It's just really cool.
It is cool. Our live viewer, well, all our viewers are the best. Whether we have a lot of people from Europe who can't watch, it's very late for them. But yeah, we have some really wonderful tomato heads, great community. Second winner is Kim L. Congratulations, Kim L. Congratulations to both of you. You can contact me and I'll get you in touch with everybody. But yeah, so thank you, Craig, again for being here with us. We'll hopefully in another couple months if you honor us by coming back again.
Absolutely. Like I say, ask anytime. Anybody who is growing my project, such as the 3 types of dwarfs I sent out, the Choimato, let me know how they're doing for you. I'm really interested in results. And that's the hardest thing. You guys may have found this too. You send out a lot of seed, people get busy. You only get like 5% of the result information that you hope you get back. That's just gardening. That's what happens. So I'm not yelling at anybody. I'm just saying, please send the results.
I'm making a video of like the fruits and everything. I did a specific taste test for your varieties.
I'm still waiting for my variegated chartreuse dwarf to ripen. They're up to about 12 ounces now. And I'm trying to think what color is it going to. It could be pink. It could be bicolor. It could be white. We'll see.
Those are a lot slower. I got 1 fruit from one of those, but it's not the variegated one. But
cool. You guys are the best. Thank you so much.
How are you?
Yes.
Mutual Admiration Society. We love it.
Follow Craig on Instagram at NC Tomato Man. And he also has a website, CraigLeHoullier.com. Yep. And thank you everybody for tuning in. And for those who couldn't join us live, we honor you as well. And thanks, Craig. We'll see you next time.
See you again soon. Bye, everybody. Eat great tomatoes. See ya.